Some sad news for the Phoenix Suns over the weekend, just before the injury report was going to drop for Sunday's game. On Saturday, we found out that Kevin Durant was going to be reevaluated in 2 weeks for a left calf strain. In not so fun news, that is the same exact calf that he strained prior to playing for Team USA in training camp. So that's twice in less than 6 months where he has had an injury with that calf. Certainly something to monitor for the rest of the season. But in the short term, the Suns have 6 games coming up that would rule him out for if he is indeed going to sit for those 2 weeks. They are in Utah right now, in Salt Lake, to play them tomorrow night. They go to Sacramento. If you think about this on a map, by the way, you go all the way back over to California to see Sacramento. Then you go all the way back across to the Midwest and you take on Oklahoma City. Then you go up north and you take on Minnesota, and then you come all the way back home. It's one of those slates, Mitch, where you look at those 4 games and you go like, oh yeah, like it's not too bad. But think about it geographically. Like, these NBA road trips can get wonky, and this is a wonky one to start.
I was trying to envision the map in my head. So if you consider starting in Phoenix, so the southernmost part of the country in terms of like states along that border, it's not Texas, but it's there. You got to go a little bit north and a little bit west to Utah. And then, like you were saying, you got to go west and a little bit more north to get to Sacramento.
They're up there.
And then you got to go east to get to Oklahoma City, which is basically not even west anymore at that point.
That's more than halfway across the country, probably, right?
And then you essentially have to go straight north to get to Minnesota. It's not going to be a fun road trip, especially because the one in particular with Utah to Sacramento, that's second night of a back-to-back, and that's probably their easiest day of travel that they're going to have. But, of course, it's like, hey, why don't you just play both of your games here instead? Yeah, this is going to be a real test. I'm more curious about it from the perspective of them just being on the road. They've been home a lot this season, and they've been very successful at home this season. They've only played in 3 places on the road. Well, I guess 2 places. 3 stadiums, but 2 places. They've only played in LA and Dallas so far this year. Now you're about to knock off 4 different places on your travel map. I'm curious how they respond to it, because I think in general, even if KD was available, a 4-game road trip's a 4-game road trip, and a back-to-back in there is not going to make things any easier, whether he's with them or not.
To your point on the back-to-back there's no 2-day break going from Sacramento to OKC. They have Thursday off, and then they play Friday. Guess what? You go up north to Minnesota. You get Saturday off. You play Sunday. You got to fly all the way back to Phoenix that night and then play Orlando the next night.
Yeah.
This is a brutal part of the schedule from a scheduling standpoint, from a days of the week standpoint. Maybe the teams aren't so tough. I think everyone learned how dangerous Sacramento can be last night if they weren't really truly aware of what they were doing. Utah should be the easiest one here, but None of this is going to be easy without Kevin Durant. Just to share both of our initial impressions on what it looked like without KD for the start of the season. What'd you think offensively? Because I think Brad wasn't really involved in the game early, got involved in the game late. Book's seen the doubles. It felt tough for them in a way you would expect.
Yeah.
But if they just hit 5 more threes, then they win that game. So it was good and bad for me, I think.
It felt like 2 different halves for me. I thought the first half was good, and I thought the second half they kind of were a little all over the place, and Bradley Beal was just trying to will them back to victory, because Brad was really the only one that was scoring down the stretch, and the dude was on a messed up ankle or knee or whatever the heck we want to classify it as. I want a little more consistency, and I think that's what Kevin Durant was able to provide, is the steadiness and the consistency of just playing the offense from the start of the game to the end of the game. That was something that I thought was missing yesterday, was just being able to consistently play your game. Now, maybe Yusuf Nurkic going out in the second half had something to do with that, but they weren't able to play consistently from the start to the finish. I think that's the biggest thing that stood out for me.
6 of 21 shooting on threes from the bench. I think that was something to me where if Kevin Durant's out, you can't have Ryan Dunn go 0 for 3 on threes. You can't have Nurk go 0 for 3 on threes. And then, by the way, Beal and Booker combined to shoot 6 of 20 from threes. So the threes just had to fall. Tyus Jones was the only guy really making them at an elite rate. He was 6 of 10, and he was the guy where early in the game, Booker figured out that Fox wasn't a step too far over, but was like, I'm going to be here so you can't get to your midi. If you want to pass it to him, that's fine. And Book was like, okay.
Yep.
Okay. And then he had 3 straight threes to begin the game. They're going to just need more, I don't want to say performances like that, because the role players have been stepping up in every game, include Tyus in this one. He had 22 points in this game, 0 turnovers as you'd expect, 4 assists, 2 steals. He was doing a little bit of everything, but I think the flow for Booker and the flow for Beal offensively is going to have to improve. Like you said, it was kind of off throughout the game. Brad had a key stretch. It was weird because in the fourth quarter, you were watching that game and you think that DeRozan and Fox just outplayed Booker and Beal. But Booker at the first 3 middies, and then Beal had 2 key scoring possessions late in the game, and then they were still up by 3.
Yeah.
So those 2 had done enough of their job, but I think the difference is going to the other end now defensively. They just had no one to stop these 2 guys, and we've seen it from Kevin. Like when James Harden got going in LA, he's like, I got Harden. I'm assuming that's him, by the way. Like maybe Budenholzer is the one making that call, but I just assume it's Kevin being like, I got him.
Based on a video that I saw going around that may or may not have shed some light on some conversation that Kevin Durant had with Yusuf Nurkic in the Dallas game. I don't know if you've seen the similar video.
It's a dangerous game to play with these accounts.
Of course.
I'll say that.
I will say, like, the lips were matching up to the words, and that seems to be relevant to the situation. I'm not going to, like, subscribe to it wholeheartedly, but it feels like an example of, hey, Kevin Durant understands what needs to get done, and without him there, who's the next person that is going to relay to the team, like, this is what needs to get done, or this is an opportunity for us to improve in this area, if that makes sense.
I won't say that he talks more than you think, or more than like the average listener or the average Suns fan would think, but he talks more or is more involved in the overall process of the game than you think. Like the little tweaks that they're making, being like, hey, that's open there, good stuff there. Like there was the mic'd up segment that he had earlier in the year. But to go back to defense, like he would have picked up DeRozan after that second shot went in early in the fourth quarter. He's like, I got DeMar.
It's like, I can do
Debo,
this.
as he is affectionately known in NBA circles. That's what
Love Debo.
Brad referred to him as. And then even when Fox got rolling in overtime, like that would have been one where Kevin probably took him for a possession. Going back and watching it, it wasn't so much that they were picking on anyone specifically. Like Tyus was on DeRozan a couple of times. Mostly it was Brad, and then it was Royce late. And that's where you would have liked to perhaps see Ryan Dunn. But that's the whole problem here is like, if you have Kevin Durant, you've got Kevin Durant on offense, and then he can just defend the guy too.
Yep.
So you don't have to worry about this. But now we're in the rotation choices and substitution patterns game because this guy is so important to you on both ends of the floor.
And I think Mike Budenholzer even talked about how they're going to miss him really more so defensively than offensively, because I think we all understand how great of an offensive entity Kevin Durant is. But the defense this year in particular has really started to shine a light. Like he was averaging like a block a game, basically, if you want like a tangible example of where his defense comes into play. But that's the other aspect that comes into being the best clutch time player so far in the league. You can't just provide everything offensively and then give up points on the opposite end. You also need to be there to stop the other team from scoring. And Kevin Durant was a big reason why the other team stopped scoring on the opposite end in those minutes, especially because he provides that extra length, so you don't have to go super large. Obviously, that was a big thing that hindered them down the stretch. Even after Sabonis fouled out in the overtime period, I think they could have used a little extra length, and I don't think they got it last night from either Royce O'Neal or Ryan Dunn or anybody else for that matter that came off of the bench.
They're in a good spot without him, but it's we got to keep an eye on Book over these next couple of games because, yes, the illness is happening, and, yes, he made it certainly sound like that it is not just like – and you would assume, again, with him popping up on the injury report with it and him being affected by it the way that he clearly has been, this is not just your standard cold. He's dealing with something pretty – severe that's affecting his play, but he's going to have to start to not only be the guy who has 12 assists, but also be the guy that scores 35.
I made the same argument on postgame yesterday. Like, if you got sick, are you going to be good at your job? Period. I don't think we need to go further deeper into, oh, he's sick, he should be playing better. Well, it's like, no. If you can't do your job when you're sick, if you got to take a day off, like the bazillion sick days that I take, then yeah, you would understand what it's like to be sick and try to do it.
Rare self-burn.
Self-burn. Look at that. There was someone in my mentions yesterday that was trying to give me crap. Anyway, coming up next.
That's the thing is that Gambo gives you crap on something, and then Gambo's fans think that it's okay to give you crap now. It's like, okay, hold on. Like, we know each other.
Hold on.
Yeah,
hold
easy.
Gambo knows me. That's as far as we go.